And our first reader is John Narracott, who's an independent U.S. citizen advocate and spokesperson for respect, equality, justice, and peace for all.
I come to this magnificent house of worship tonight because my conscience leaves me no other choice. A time comes when silence is betrayal, and that time has come for us in relation to Vietnam. The truth of these words is beyond doubt, but the mission to which they call us is a most difficult one. Even when pressed by the demands of inner truth, men do not easily assume the task of opposing their government's policy, especially in time of war. Nor does the human spirit move without great difficulty against all the apathy of conformist thought within one's own bosom and in the surrounding world. Moreover, when the issue at hand seems as perplexing, often do in the case of this dreadful conflict, we are always on the verge of being mesmerized by uncertainty, but we must move on. And some of us who have already begun to break the silence of the night have found that the calling to speak is often a vocation of agony, but we must speak. We must speak with all the humility that is appropriate in our limited vision, but we must speak. Over the past 2 years, as I have moved to break the betrayal of my own silences and to speak from the burnings of my own heart, as I have called for radical departures from the destruction of Vietnam, many persons have questioned me about the wisdom of my path. At the heart of their concerns, this query has often loomed large and loud. Why are you speaking about the war, Dr. King? Why are you joining forces? Why are you joining the voices of dissent? Peace and civil rights don't mix, they say. Aren't you hurting the cause of your people? They ask. And when I hear them, though I often understand the source of their concern, I'm nevertheless greatly saddened, for such questions mean that the inquirers have not really known me, my commitment, or my calling. Instead, their questions suggest that they do not know the world in which they live. In the light of such tragic misunderstanding, I deem it of signal importance to try to state clearly, and I trust concisely, why I believe the path from Dexter Avenue Baptist Church, the church in Montgomery, Alabama, where I began my pastorate, leads clearly to this sanctuary tonight. I come to this platform tonight to make a passionate plea to my beloved nation. Since I am a preacher by calling, I suppose it is not surprising that I have 7 major reasons for bringing Vietnam into the field of my moral vision. There is at the outset a very obvious and most facile connection between the war in Vietnam and the struggle I and others have been waging in America. A few years ago, there was a shining moment in that struggle. It seemed as if there was a real promise of hope for the poor, both black and white, through the poverty program. There were experiments, hopes, and new beginnings. Then came the build-up in Vietnam, and I watched this program broken and eviscerated as if it were some idle political plaything of a society gone mad on war, and I knew that America would never invest in the necessary funds or energies in rehabilitation of its poor so long as adventures like Vietnam continue to draw men and skills and money like some demonic, destructive suction tube.
That's right, we lived through it.
So I was increasingly compelled to see the war as an enemy of the poor and to attack it as such.
What didn't we get when we got
Perhaps the more tragic recognition of reality took place when it became clear to me that the war was doing far more than devastating the hopes of the poor at home. It was sending their sons and their brothers and their husbands to fight and to die in extraordinarily high proportions relative to the rest of the population. I could not be silent in the face of such cruel manipulation of the poor.
Thank you, John. So next we have Maria Medina, who's the program director, and Ala Parks and Scott Nguyen with United Voices, Beats for Peace. Oh, and one more. Okay, we got a bunch of kids. Do that short. From Beats for Peace, a multimedia arts and activism youth program sponsored by the American Friends Service Committee that works to end oppression, militarism, and war. And they're doing a zine release party of the zine they produced tonight at Audio Cinema, right across the Hawthorne Bridge, underneath the Hawthorne Bridge, at 5 o'clock. So you should go there and support their program, help them raise money to go to a national youth and militarism conference in Chicago, because this is our future. These kids are learning how to stop this pattern of militarism in our world and make the world a better place and be the activists of tomorrow. So Audio Cinema, 5 o'clock tonight, East Side. See you there.
Yeah, no, you just go ahead and read.
My third reason moves to an even deeper level of awareness, for it grows out of my experience in the ghettos of the North. As I have walked among the desperate, rejected, and angry young men, I have told them that mulatto cocktails and rifles would not solve their problems. I have tried to offer them my deepest compassion while maintaining my conviction that social change comes most meaningfully through nonviolent action. But they ask, and rightly so, if our own nation wasn't using massive doses of violence to solve its problems, to bring about the changes it wanted. Their questions hit home, and I knew that I could never again raise my voice against the violence of the oppressed without having first spoken clearly to the greatest purveyor of violence in the world today, my own government. For the sake of those boys, for the sake of this government, for the sake of the hundreds of thousands trembling, I cannot be silent.
Now it should be incandescently clear that no one who has any concern for the integrity and life of America today can ignore the present war. If America's soul becomes totally poisoned, part of the autopsy must read, Vietnam. It can never be saved so long as it destroys the deepest hopes of men the world over. So it is as that those of us who are yet determined that America will be, are led down the path of protest and dissent, working for the health of our land. You guys ready? Okay. You guys ready? Okay. Oh. So right here. And finally, as I try to explain for you and for myself the road that leads to this place, I would have offered all that was good if I simply said that I must be true to my own conviction that I share with all men the calling to be a son of the living God. Beyond the calling of race or nation or creed, this vocation, listen over here. Okay? This vocation of sonship and brotherhood, and because I believe that the Father is deeply concerned, especially for his suffering and helpless and outcast children, I come tonight to speak for them. This I believe to be the privilege and the burden of all of us who deem ourselves bound by allegiances and loyalties which are broader and deeper than nationalism, and which we go beyond our nation's self-defined goals and positions. We are called to speak for the weak, for the voiceless, for the victims of our nation, and for those it calls enemy, for no document from human hands can make these humans any less our brothers.